Hey guys! Again, it's your girl MORENX and syempre welcome sa panibagong episode ng paborito nyong segment na kung saan pag-uusapan natin lahat-lahat. Syempre all about that and more with MORENX. And of course, this is another episode na kung saan hopefully hindi lang kayong may matutunan kundi ako rin. This is another special episode kasi may panibago tayong makakasama and probably kagaya ko naging fangirl, fanboy din kayo niya, nakikita niyo siya sa mga FYP niyo o sa ang lupalok man ng social media because he is one of those na para nakikita niyong nag-a-advise or nagpapa-real talk. Binibigyan kayo ng real talk, ng tunay na nangyayari. Kung ano ba talaga ito sa ito. Kaya naman excited ako because I feel like I will learn a lot. Kaya naman wag na natin patagalin pa. Let's give it up for Dan Yutoko.
Grabe, best in intro ka na talaga. As in, sa lahat ng mga ginawa kong podcast, ikaw yung pinaka-best na intro. I felt the importance in my name.
I am a fangirl.
Right? I'm a fanboy.
Promise.
It's a tie.
Nakikita lang kita dati. Sabi ko, shucks, on point lahat ng mga sinasabi mo. And it's nice kasi ako more on girls perspective ako. Tapos nakita ko na parang, eto siya yung nagre-real talk talaga na parang ipaparamdam sa'yo na ito lang yan. Ito yun.
At saka that's really me. Like, as in, nung nag-start ako, kasi with TikTok, with my advice, parang sabi ko sa sarili ko, like, if I'm gonna make content, ayoko yung tipong sugarcoat talaga lahat. Like, if I'm gonna give advice, talaga, kaya nga real talk saglit, diba? Kasi gusto ko real talk talaga. Like, sorry kung nasaktan ka or medyo maalat yung mga sinasabi ko or if ever mabitter ka, but that's just life. And in a way, I kind of wanted to give a realistic but hopeful perspective about, dating, friendship, life, because I feel like we, as much as we want to hear the nice things, diba? It also pays to hear what you want to hear more than what you need to hear.
Exactly.
And that's what real talk is about.
Kaya nga sabi nila sa akin na parang opposite tayo because I hindi naman always, pero I do sugarcoat things. Kasi syempre babae ako emotional ako. Pagdating sa mga ganyang bagay, I feel like pwede mo namang sabihin but not in a way na parang biglang masasaktan mo siya na it's like saying ayoko sa'yo. Di ba, pwede mo naman sabihin na baka hindi.
So, sinugargot mo naman yung intro ko?
Hindi, totoo yun.
Sinugargot mo lang pala yung intro.
Fan ba yun?
Noted, guys, noted. No, pero actually guys, I'm a huge fan talaga. Like, I think 2021 pa lang na nagtatataga kita sa FYP ko. Kaya sobrang, it feels a bit surreal na we're actually here talaga doing this podcast. So, I'm pretty excited because I think perfect blend to ng mga perspective natin,
exactly. Diba? Pero ngayon ngayon naman, makukuha natin yung perspective naman ng mga kalalakihan about siguro nasa talking stage. Hindi naman talking stage. Siguro yung mga bagong kilala pa lang na parang feeling mo mixed signal siya. Pero sasagutin natin yung tanong na, are they just friendly or flirty na? Have you been in a situation na parang sinabihan kang mixed signal ka because you are way too friendly for that person?
No, yeah. And honestly, parang dun ko na-realize talaga na sometimes when it comes to being friendly or flirty, you have to really know the person muna. Because like what if yung love language nila is like, alam mo yung mga words of affirmation agad. So when you tell them, I really appreciate you or like I really like that we spend time together. Minsan they'll think of it as flirty even though yung intention ko was being friendly. And ako naman I take accountability. Like I'm not perfect, guys. Like there have been times where ako yung nagbibigay ng mixed signals even if it's unintentional. Diba? Binubukin ko sarili ko dito. But it's real talk. I mean like that's really how it is and I feel like it's because nga when it comes to mixed feelings or mixed signals rather and being friendly or flirty, I think what we have to always look at is yung ano ba intention mo. Kasi naniniwala talaga ako. I believe in like the 3-date rule. So I have this thing na when you go out with a person, tapos naka 3 dates na kayo, you for a guy at least, medyo alam mo na talaga if you wanna pursue this person eh. And after that parang space, right? Whether it's 1 month, 2 months, or kahit 3 weeks lang na 3 dates na kayo nakalabas, right? And you got to know each other. More or less, if you're still giving mixed signals, for me, that's already a sign na hindi siya interested in you. Kaya when it comes to being friendly or flirty, it's also about the time you guys spend together. And may rule ako sa sarili ko na if I'm gonna pursue this person, dapat on the onset pa lang, alam ko na intentions ko. So let's say after a month or after a month and a half, I like this person, tapos I feel like nagko-connect naman kami, nag-vibe naman kami, then I'm gonna be intentional. Pero pag hindi, then I'm gonna stop giving those I'm gonna stop being intentional na. Kasi the moment you become intentional, pero ayaw mo maging in a relationship, ikaw yung may kasalanan. Diba? So that's how I see being friendly and being flirty is where is your intentions ba with this person.
Kaya nga dito natin sinasabi, di ba, na parang sikat yung quote na clarity first before intimacy. You should know first kung ano ba yung intention mo talaga sa taong yun para hindi ka maging mixed signal. Because sometimes, yung pag-label sa'yo ng mixed signal, minsan hindi ka rin aware na parang, ito na pala yung pinapakita ko. Kasi ako clingy talaga ako eh. Whether sa babae or sa lalaki, I'm really clingy. So parang kaya, pag may nanliligaw sa akin, gusto ko nagpapaalam. Kasi para at least aware ako kung ano ipapakita ko sa'yo sa hindi ko ipapakita. Kesa hindi mo pinaalam sa akin na nanliligaw ka, sobrang clingy ko sa'yo, tapos hindi pala kita gusto. Din na-misunderstood mo yun na parang, akala ko you like me kasi ganito ka na sa akin. Diba? And that's very important, I think. So ngayon naman, how did you handle yung situation na parang, ganun nga, umasa siya sa'yo? Did you reject that person immediately or?
Actually hindi. Kasi alam mo, naniniwala talaga ako. Like when you're in that position, it's so hard. You could say na, na it's easier to just tell the person out right now. I like hanging out with you, but I don't feel this way. But for me, it was hard because parang hindi ko alam kung anong gagawin ko. Like, do I talk to her less? Do I not hang out with her less? Do I hope na like after a few days or a few weeks mawawala na lang yung connection and then she'll stop talking to me? yung mga ganong klaseng scenarios. But I think what I did was after a while parang I kind of subtly said na I like being friends with you. I hope it stays that way. Yung mga tipong ganon. Yung parang hindi mo, para sa mga nahihirapan maging confrontational. Kasi ako guys, I'm non-confrontational. Yeah. And no, I mean, when it comes to like whether it's if kunyari, I disagree with you or maybe there's something uncomfortable, I have a hard time being confrontational. Like it's something that I have to work on because sometimes I like to not deal with issues like firsthand. So even when it comes to, I think that's something I have to work on even when it comes to dating. One of the things I do palagi is if I don't feel this connection anymore or I don't want to pursue this person, it's like I subtly tell them that I want to be their friend. You know, para at least I don't ghost them. I don't outright reject them, but I set a boundary na. And that's what I've been learning more is learning how to set boundaries, even if it hurts the person. Because if you don't set a boundary, you're probably just gonna hurt yourself and the person more. And at the same time, in their mind, you're gonna be the villain. And you don't. And I feel like I don't feel like any of us ever want to be a villain in someone's story, but it happens when you don't set boundaries. And I believe that because I've met people who have good hearts, good intentions, but because they weren't they weren't in that state where they gave that person clarity into what they wanted in a relationship. Ayun, naging ano sila. Parang sila yung naging bad guy and they ended up costing the friendship, right? And the relationship. So for me, I think boundaries are what makes, you know, or breaks a relationship or friendship. So that's what I've been learning and I hope people also learn, even if it's hard. Kahit masakit or masaktan yung tao, you'd rather let them feel the pain like in front of you, then let them linger on a what if for months or for years. Tapos ikaw lang yung sinisisi even though hindi mo naman yung intention, 'di ba?
Kasi kaya nga sabi nila either way naman, mag-set ka ng boundaries, masasaktan mo sila, hindi ka mag-set, masasaktan mo pa rin sila. So choose the lesser evil.
Yeah.
'Di ba parang
choose the lesser pain.
Ayun.
choose the lesser breakdown.
Oo. Pero when it comes to setting boundaries, how will you know if it's the time to set boundaries? Paano kung wala naman siyang sinabing umaasa siya? Pero di ba minsan mararamdaman mo pag umaasa na siya?
Okay, here's the thing. I feel kasi I also get what you're talking about. Kasi for girls and guys naman, it's more of like yung who will say it first eh. I feel like as much as we wanna say na as long as walang sinasabi, okay lang. But in reality, the more you spend time with a person and the more you guys connect deeper or the more you guys know about each other's fears or you know about each other's likes and dislikes, kahit hindi siya umaasa or kahit wala kang sinasabi, eventually feelings will naniniwala ako na feelings will develop and eventually may masasaktan if you don't act quick or at least lay the foundation or the boundary na okay, dito lang tayo. And ako naniniwala ako na even if nothing is said, there's more than what meets the eye when it comes to relationships and friendships. Kaya ako kasi I've experienced yun nga yung ako na mismo umaasa sa isang tao but I never said naman na I like that person or that I wanted to be in a relationship. But then as the months went by and our relationship parang became deeper, bigla akong parang nalungkot even though I had no right to be sad because I never clarified what I wanted from her, and she had no she had no way of returning that favor to me kasi hindi naman niya ako jowa, diba? She didn't owe me anything. But because nga we hung out a lot and I got to know her more, like obviously it was hard to not get those feelings buried. That's why it's important kahit wala kang sinasabi, if you know in your heart talaga na it's gonna lead to something more, either you have to communicate to them what you're feeling or you take the initiative to step aside and step back. Because if you don't step back, diba, you're gonna set yourself up for disappointment and heartbreak. And I feel like it's better to know that you've lost and move on than to keep on fighting for something you know you're gonna lose anyway.
Sabi
Diba?
nga nila, mahirap umasa sa wala. Pero mas mahirap naman umasa sa parang meron.
Oo.
Tapos,
Mahirap yun.
hindi ba? Kasi parang feeling ko talaga meron pero eventually wala. Ikaw naman sa side na umasa din before, di ba? Na parang ikaw naman, friendly lang kaya siya o flirty. How did you deal with that? Na parang, di ba natatakot ka i-confront siya na parang, gusto niya ba rin ba ako o hindi?
Alam mo yung song ni Saza, I can see I'm yun yung ginawa ko. No, pero kasi, I mean, okay, I feel like, especially when it's your first time talaga to feel that way, or even when it's someone that leaves a lasting impression to you and you feel like you can work. Sometimes kasi nawawala na yung yung objective reasoning mo. Like ako mismo, I give real talk because I know how it feels like to be in that situation. And so, parang sa akin, that's why whenever I have friends talaga na sobrang may mga moments na inisip mo, hindi ka naman talaga niya gusto, or parang bakit ka pa umaasa sa wala, mga 3 months na tapos wala pa rin siyang pinaparamdam sa'yo. But I get it because like sometimes, diba, so I also tell people na to not breadcrumb. Alam mo yung breadcrumbing?
Oo,
like to not breadcrumb, because sometimes unintentionally, even if we are friendly lang talaga, because of what the person is expecting of us, and because di natin masyado kilala yung tao or what they value, sometimes we unintentionally breadcrumb them. And sa mga tao na hindi alam, breadcrumbing is like when you leave like hints about liking someone even though you don't like them.
Parang
paasa just to keep them hooked. Or so parang minsan ginagawa natin yun, 'di ba? Minsan whenever we say, "Oy, kape tayo," or "Hey, are you free tonight?" Tapos hangout kayo, or minsan medyo touchy ka sa kanya, 'di ba? Even though you're touchy talaga in person, but sa kanya it means more. Sometimes we do these things na hindi naman natin alam na is sort of paasa na to them, pero paasa siya, and sometimes you have to be aware then. I think it's about being aware and about the person we're with, and then once we know that type of person, diba, set boundaries. And I think yun yung things that I have learned to do as someone that's been breadcrumbed and someone that's also done the breadcrumbing. Alam mo yun? So parang dun ko na realize on both ends na mahirap din pala on both sides talaga, and I get what it feels pala to be on that side. Kaya yun, I think it goes back yung boundaries and knowing the person, and then just knowing when to take a step back or take a step forward if handa ka na, diba?
Depende talaga sa'yo yun when you're ready or not. Diba? It's about knowing kung kaya mo yung consequences ng mga actions mo. So ito naman, we want to get to know more about you. Like, who is Dan kapag friendly and who is Dan kapag flirty?
Diba?
Para at least aware. Diba? Parang feeling mo same lang naman yung ugali ko kapag flirty.
Oo, as in sobrang, alam mo ba, sobrang natawa ako kasi sobrang, alam mo yung feeling na until now when people ask me, Dan, ano ka ba pag friendly and flirty? And I hate the fact na it's hard to distinguish me being friendly and flirty because I really am friendly in general.
And flirty as well.
Oo. So para, di naman, sometimes lang, pero alam mo yung tipong, I like meeting new people. Because ako only child ako. Only child. So wala akong siblings, walang anything. And so all my life, I was always taught to just know people and be friends with them and to talk kasi sa bahay wala naman akong kasama diba? And so that was my way of coping with, trying to enjoy life and to enjoy meeting new people. And so para sa akin, I think Daniel talk of being friendly and flirty, if there's one thing I could distinguish them, is if I am flirty, right, I will really make the effort to go to you, as in drive to you and bring you back home and
Uy, pwede rin nagagawa ng friends
no,
yan,
yeah. I realized that because I've done that with my friends also, but now I think I've set
boundaries
I've set boundaries in terms of like if I'm consistent talaga, like kunyari, like let's say in a given week or two or even a month, na I like someone talaga and I'm willing to drive them talaga, like as in kahit every day or every
Wow.
other day, then I know then that's me being
Oo.
flirty or being intentional na. 'Di ba? Kasi sayang gas. 'Di ba? I made a TikTok about how like yung mga bare minimum things that aren't bare minimum. Kasi may nagsabi sa akin na parang yung paghatid sundo bare minimum daw yun. Pero hindi ah. Kasi
Ang inflation naman ngayon,
oh,
grabe rin
naniniwala ko kung bare minimum yun, paano pahati naman ng gas, 'di ba? No, so for me that's another way for me to know if I'm being friendly or flirty. But I think another way to know is I choose my words carefully. If I am flirty with you, I don't just say na
I miss you,
I'm
mga
oh, oh.
ganun.
No, parang I don't just say it's weird eh. Kasi you know how like people say I miss you to their friends?
Oo.
I don't say that if I'm flirty with you.
Ay, we?
Parang I don't say that because parang when I like someone, nagiging torpe ako for some reason. So it's the opposite. If I can say I miss you to my, it's weird no? I can say I miss you to my friends or like love you mga ganun. Pero if it's someone I like talaga, I'm so careful with my words. I say something like I like spending time with you. Let's go out again. Or I always ask if they wanna hang out again because I wanna spend more time with them. But I don't like outright say those things like I miss you or I like you or that because I feel like those are words that I wanna save for when I actually confess or something like that. So that's me. It's very weird, no? Na yun
Kabaliktaran eh.
pagkabaliktaran talaga. And I think it's because out of all the experiences I've had with dating, with friendships, I realize words matter. And if I like someone and I know there's a chance, right? I don't want to say things that might get parang lost in translation. Kasi parang if I tell you na I miss you but not in a friendly way, I don't want to say it agad. Parang I want to wait for the right time or I want to wait when I'm ready to pursue you and court you, which I still believe I still believe na courting pa rin in a modern way. Hindi naman yung tipong 1 year kailangan mong i-court siya.
Modern way, when you say modern, how long? Paano?
Ako naniniwala talaga ako like now with social media and like the age of like FYP and like streaming and podcasts. Like before kasi before di ba mga tao mga 1 year kailangan mag-court ka for like 1 year or like get to know for like 3 months, 4 months tapos parang 6 months court. Pero sa akin talaga with how connected we all are, right? I feel like kahit 2 months pa nga lang or 3 months you'll know na eh. I feel like you'll know. I already have shout out I have batchmates right now sa college ko na kasal na.
Oh.
And they're younger than me pero kasal na sila, di ba? Na pressure ako eh. Pero it's because they know and it's funny how they told me na when you know and it's so cliche but it's such a universal thing that when you know that you two are destined to be with each other and you know that the connection is there, that the values are there, that it's aligned, you don't have to rush for it. And I feel na we overthink a lot with dating nowadays when really dating is so simple. It's simple in the sense that you find someone that you are willing to wake up every day for and willing to wake up and do the mundane things with. Diba? Kahit yung mga tipong kakain lang kayo ng hotdog, di ba, in the morning at 8 a.m. watching the TV or scrolling through FYP or walking along the parks on a Sunday night or a Sunday morning, right? The person that you want to spend those times with, if you know that it's that person, then it's that person. And sometimes honestly, for me, we overcomplicate things with like yung mga red flags or yung mga anong sign niya or like when was he born, ano bang angel number niya, mga ganon, right? When really I feel like personally you'll know it's the one when you wake up without any more questions. So
Ang cute. Ako naman kasi, di ba, I grew up in a conservative family. So para sa akin, talagang big factor yung matagal akong niligawan. Pero ngayon naman, syempre na nasa SOCMED ako, I realized na, kasi sayangan ko yung oras at panahon na paghintayin siya ng matagal. Why not try it agad?
Yeah.
Pero kasi, minsan kasi, ako as a girl, I'm not speaking for everybody. Pero ako kasi, I feel like yung ego ko natatamaan kapag 1 month lang ako niligawan. Di ba pag tinatanong ka, kano kanya katagal niligawan? 2 weeks lang. So parang ikaw as a girl, 2 weeks ka lang niligawan. So parang ikaw madadown ka na, oo nga, no, ba't niya ako 2 weeks niligawan?
Or depende though, like 1 month lang niligawan pero how long has he known you?
May
diba?
mga ganun factors.
May mga ganun factor. Like for me like
tropa kayo dati.
kasi may isa akong friend parang 1 year, 2 years sila like best friends. Tapos yun, umamin siya and then they tried it out and after like 1 month naging sila. Pero they told me na it didn't start with a 1 month. It was a collection of all the things that happened within those 2 years. So parang for me, depende rin talaga eh. Kasi, again, it's how well you know the person. So, kung 1 month niligawan mo siya, pero kilala mo na siya for like how many months or how many years, then ako personally, I think it didn't start with a 1 month. It ended with a 1 month, but started with a 2 years. Right?
At least okay yun. Meron na kayong
Diba?
history ng isa't isa. I mean, nagkasama na kayo. Pero ito, I wanna ask, what's the worst thing, hindi naman worst, pero pinakagrabe mong ginawa na para sa'yo, parang courting na siya. Pero para dun sa girl na yun, parang being friendly lang pala. Ba't ka natatawa?
Kasi alam ko na eh. And natatakot ako kasi baka makita niyo to. Kasi
Sa TikTok ko na lang po.
oo, pero feeling ko makikita naman. Pero feeling ko okay naman kami. Okay talaga kami.
Ay, bakit
okay
parang
talaga kami. Okay talaga kami. Pero and I'll say it with grace and without any malice. Pero the one thing that I did talaga it wasn't even flirty. It was legit talaga pursuing na talaga. Like I drove during the pandemic in 2021, mga MECQ pa to.
Di ba bawal pang gumalaga?
Hindi pwede pa pero may checkpoint, di ba? From Manila I don't want to say the province. I went to the province. Okay, ganito lang guys.
Gaano katagal yung province na yun?
4-hour drive siya, malapit na mag-La Union. O, ganyan lang guys, ganyan kalayo.
Alone?
Yung drive ko alone. I was with a friend also halfway through, but majority of the time I was alone. And I drove for 4 hours. Going to, and then going back.
Wait, just to see her?
Yeah. And yun. And ang ending, hindi naging kami.
How did you handle the situation na parang, hindi naman reject, probably
Oo.
parang hindi niya lang nakita talaga na ikaw muna yung makasama.
How did I handle it? Yung umiyak ako. No, but I feel like how I handled it was like how every human being would handle getting rejected after putting in that much effort. Yung tipong binigay mo na yung 110% mo and wala pa rin nangyari. And I think for me that was a turning point then in terms of what I learned about myself and what I learned about what I can give. Parang sabi ko, okay, kung kaya ko pala to ibigay sa isang tao na hindi pa naman kami. Then what more when it's us na talaga. And that's when I knew what I could give. And why, in a way, I'm thankful for that experience of me driving and spending 5,000 on gas. Kasi na-realize ko talaga, guys, so what I'm willing to, what are you willing to do? Yun, guys, I'm willing to do that for someone that's not even mine. And it made me understand then yung mga boundaries I can set for myself, and also what I am willing to do for a person that I really, 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 really like. And I'm thankful for that experience because it showed me na Danyo Toko, when he is I can say in love na rin, when he is in love, knows the effort that is needed to prove that love. So,
Where did that change your somehow? Parang pagtingin mo sa love na parang ayoko na, last na to.
yeah.
Natakot ka din?
Natakot ako. I think in a way it made me have sort of commitment issues rin because in a way parang sino ba naman yung hindi doon, 'di ba, malulungkot or matatrauma in a way, 'di ba, with going like to extreme lengths just to tell someone that you like them or that you want to see them and then not getting the same or not having the same feelings, right? So for me, in a way, nagbago siya in a sense where I wouldn't say na mas naging realistic ako, mas naging guarded lang talaga ako in terms of when do I exactly show this type of effort. Like, I don't want to show this effort agad-agad. Like I want to show it talaga to someone who I know is clear with the intentions and I am certain that it has the potential to last long. So parang dun nag-change yung I guess perspective ko in terms of love and dating. But yun, 'di ba sabi nga, 'di ba, like I think that's the beauty of love in a way, is that we meet people for a reason, for a season, for a lesson. Even though it might not be the reason you wanted, we still meet them for a reason. And I think we should be thankful for that. That's why for all of the people I've talked to in the past, right, those that I've dated or even those friendships that I've formed, I'm thankful for them because I pick up lessons from them pa rin and all the mistakes that I've done. Kasi I don't want to tell people here na ako mismo, I'm a perfect person. I'm not. Like, it's more of, okay, ito yung nangyari, here's what went wrong. Okay, so what can I learn from that to be a better version for myself so that when I meet the one or when I meet the person for me, alam ko na yung kailangan kong ibigay sa kanya. So,
Pero, how many jowas have you had ba?
well, I think okay, in this world of like talking stages, I feel like I could say na I've had like one ex.
Isang
Yeah.
ex, yun yung
But
sobrang seryoso.
Actually hindi nga eh. Yung the one I drove to, that was like a situationship,
Oo,
right?
situationship.
So it's weird eh. It's weird how that affected me more.
Mm-mm.
It's weird. It's so weird kasi parang
Mas matimbang yung epekto nun.
yung epekto nun. And that's when I realized talaga that it's so different when you know. Like the hurt you feel when you know, and the hurt you feel when you're still not sure is so different. Even if you weren't official, because it's there. It's real. And that's something na hindi ko ma-describe talaga. I think no one can ever describe in a podcast or in a TikTok. It's the indescribable feeling of knowing what you feel about someone and knowing what it feels like to not be with that someone.
Ito naman, may ipapakonsult ako sa'yo. Because last night, I have this friend
Uh,
na parang, parang I always tell that person, uy, I love you, I miss you, sana makita na kita, gumaganon-ganon, sana magsama tayo ulit. Tapos biglang, nagreklamo siya. Sabi niya na, what do you mean by I love you? Pero lagi ko naman sinasabi sa kanya, like every day. Kasi we're friends. Biglang tinanong niya kagabi. Sabi niya sa akin, what do you mean by that? Sabi ko na, can you like me more than a friend? Sabi niya. Tapos sabi ko, I was left parang dumbfounded. Kasi parang hindi ko alam kung anong i-react ako. Because usually gano'n naman ako sa mga friends
laugh
ko.
mo na lang.
Tapos parang sabi niya na, can you not please say things na hindi mo naman kayang panagutan? Pero sabi ko naman sa kanya, yung I love you ko sa'yo, I really mean it. Kasi mahal ko naman talaga siya. Yun nga lang, siguro we're not on the same page because nakikita ko siya as someone na kakaibiganin ko lang talaga for the rest of my life. Compared sa kanya, kasi lagi niya sinasabi na, I like you too. Tapos kagabi niya lang sinabi na, alam mo, you know that I like you. I like you na I like you. So, how do you think should I handle that thing? Natatakot ako din. Hindi rin ako mahilig sa confrontation. I hate rejecting. I hate saying real things to people. Kaya hindi ako nagre-real talk. Kasi natatakot ako na i-face yung reality na ganito na pala.
Yeah. I think ang advice ko is the fact that diba, how long have you known each other ba? Like
konti pa lang, 6 months.
6 months. O 6 months pa lang. Pero alam naman niya nag I love you ka, diba?
Oo, like even before pa. So, sinasabi ko sa kanya, uy, I love you, I miss you.
Kasi para sa akin, I feel like that's more of a, I think baka words of affirmation yung love language niya, right? And I think when it comes to those things, I think it's also understanding yung mindset niya. And if yung mindset niya talaga is na he's sensitive to those words, then I think you should be the one to take the initiative talaga to stop to kumbaga lessen the frequency of kung ano man sinasabi mo sa kanya, even if it hurts. Because I feel like if you continue to say things that like I love you or I miss you, kahit as a friend lang, syempre for him, kahit alam niya na for friend lang, the fact na nakikita niya yon sa chat bubble with your name on it, it still feeds into his hope, 'di ba? Kasi sometimes even if we're 99.9% sure na ayaw nila sa atin, yung 0.1% na yan, nandiyan pa rin
pinanghahawakan
natin yan. We still value it. Ako, I still valued it at the time, right? And that's just because when we like someone, 'di ba? Sabi ko when we know how it feels like to love or to like someone that way, minsan talaga lahat ng rationality, logic, we throw it out because we wanna believe in that, even though it's something na hindi naman talaga realistic. And so ang advice ko, my advice would honestly be to be the one to take the initiative to lessen the things you normally say to him, especially if you know na talaga na it's affecting him already, right, and affecting the friendship, because the last thing you want is to lose a friendship, right, and the potential relationship, right, to lose it all together, and to lose the 6 months that you've spent knowing each other, right? And then if ayaw pa rin niya maging friends even though you've compromised, then at least you can tell yourself talaga na you've done your part in doing what you can to keep the friendship. And if hindi pa rin siya makaget over doon, and then that's on him na talaga. That's on his own, kumbaga, responsibility to be the one to either be an adult, try to move on to past that feelings, or to do what's healthy for him and distance himself from you, diba? So it's more of trying to take a calculated risk, diba? Kasi emotions are always gonna be a risk, diba? So you just have to choose, what risk is worth taking.
Natakot nga ako. Actually, naisip ko din na probably baka tigilan ko muna yung pag-chat sa kanya. Pero naisip ko kasi yung gap na pwedeng magkaroon ko. Because honestly, whether I like it or not, after what I said last night, totoong magkakagap talaga kami.
Oo.
Because parang para sa kanya, ouch, this is a parang face-to-face rejection na parang,
Oo.
eto na nga. Pero ikaw ba yung tipo na kapag na-reject ka, ayaw mo magstay kayo as friends or it's okay for you to, sige, friends na lang.
Ako okay lang ako with friends, but what I do is I have to distance myself from them. Like I have to remove them from my routine. Kasi yun eh. I feel like the only way we can move on and stay as friends or even acquaintance is to remove the habit of talking to them. Because di ba they said like old habits die hard, and that's true even for relationships or for people. Na the only way you could stay friends with someone without being affected is you have to remove them from your everyday habit. You have to remove them from the everyday good mornings, from the everyday I miss you, from the everyday kamusta ka na, nasan ka na. And once you start to remove that habit, you learn how to move on in spite of them. And dun ka pa lang for me makakabalik sa idea na we can be friends. So for me, I've done that. I stayed friends with them, right? With those people that I've briefly dated or people that I've talked with, but I had to distance myself from them. And the friendship I have with them now is totally different. For sure, obviously, diba, iba na compared to what I had with them back when I liked them, and only because it was for my own well-being and for my own emotional, well-being din na kailangan may boundaries talaga. Now we can be friends of course, but malamang there are things na hindi natin pwedeng gawin already. Like there are things we can't do together now that we did back then. We can't go on coffee runs on or watch a movie together tayong dalawa lang. Not because I don't want to, but because I have to. Kasi like that's something na hindi naman mawawala sa akin, and I feel like if we do it again, it might bring back old memories or it might make things confusing again. And the last thing I want nga is to put me in a position where I'm confused, right? With someone na I don't want naman to be confused with. And so that's the one thing talaga is if we want to stay friends, because I believe we can naman talaga. But we have to remove them from our habit. The habit of always seeing them is the habit we have to break first before we could see them again, if that makes sense.
Ako naman siguro, depende sa sitwasyon. Selfish na kung selfish, pero pag ako yung nang iwan at nang reject, I feel like we can be friends. Pero
pag ikaw yung
ako yung nireject, sorry,
it's a you thing.
I cannot do that. Parang it's hard for me to see you every day knowing the fact na you rejected me and knowing the fact na you don't like me. I mean, di ba parang valid naman siya na.
Valid naman siya kasi parang pride mo yung yung nasaktan eh. Di ba?
At saka ang hirap kaya nun yung taong gustong-gusto mo na parang at some point nagkaroon kayo ng usapan, conversation, tapos biglang one day hindi na kayo magkakilala or magkakilala kayo pero hanggang dun na lang. Hindi na yung dati na may care pa, and it's so hard. Pero pag ako yung nang-reject, sige, go lang. Walang problema yun.
Okay lang kasi talagang tropa lang talaga yung tingin mo sa kanya from the beginning.
Diba?
Diba?
Hindi naman ikaw yung napahiya na parang nag-invest ng time, nag-ano ng
siya yung napahiya, ikaw hindi ka napahiya. So okay lang. pero I mean, gets ka naman. I mean, you could say it's a selfish thing, but at the same time, I think it's just because yun nga, we didn't risk anything eh. Kaya yun eh. Pero kaya 'di ba, when we risk something and we lose it, why would we go back to something that we lost already in the first place that we were ready to risk it for, right? Compared to not really risking anything, diba? So okay lang kahit maging tropa lang tayo kasi wala naman talaga nangyari sa atin eh. Diba?
Parang ikaw lang naman nag-assume talaga.
Ikaw naman talaga nag-assume sa I miss you ko eh.
Wala, pero nakaka-hurt yun, no? Pag tayo yung naiwan, yung tayong na-reject. Kasi it feels like, napaka-insensitive mo naman para sa part na yun. Pero again, yung tanong nga na, ano ba yung mas mahirap? Ito, I'll ask you the question. Ano ba yung mas mahirap gawin? Or mas mahirap na sitwasyon? Yung nang-iwan o yung iniwan?
Mas mahirap gawin?
Hindi, mas mahirap na sitwasyon.
Yung iniwan.
Well,
yung iniwan. Because I feel like when you leave someone, right, you made the decision to leave them na eh. And even if may regret ka dun, ginawa mo eh. So you kind of have to live with that, right? You live with the choices you make. But pag iniwan ka, it's hard to live with that choice because it wasn't your choice. And because it wasn't your choice, you're always gonna wonder, what if I did something different? What if I was better?
Ang daming what if, no?
Yeah. And so I think that's why lahat tayo, di ba, pag sa mga, di ba nga, palagi tayong nagsasabi, what if, di ba, bumalik ang greatest what if, mga ganun. And I think the reason why we always cling to what ifs is because those are the only things in our life that we never had control of. And when we don't have control of those situations, we always fantasize in our head, if I did this lang, or if I would have treated her better, or if I would have said things differently, maybe my life would be different now, 'di ba? And so for me, that's why I think it's a harder situation to be pag iniwan ka, kasi yun yung tipong greatest what if scenario where you know, even though it probably would have never happened, you still think na ay pag ginawa ko to, for sure iba yung result ng kung saan naman kami ngayon.
Oo.
'Di ba? So I think that's why mas mahirap mas mahirap talaga pag ikaw yung iniwan.
Tsaka I feel like mas mahirap yung sitwasyon na ikaw yung iniwan because sometimes iniwan ka nang hindi ka ready. Di ba yung parang bigla ka na lang sasabihin na, sorry, I think it's not working out. Or can we just be friends? Alam mo ba, na-try akong ma-reject ng lalaki dati. Na siya naman yung unang nanggulo sa akin. Tapos biglang, when we are about to parang ready ka na to commit.
Tapos siya pa yung nag-ano.
Oo, it's parang biglang isang araw. Like super okay kami na yung mga unang days. Tapos biglang isang araw, uy, can we just be friends? Tapos sabi ko, umiyak ako noon. Not because parang, parang ganun. Not because I'm broken-hearted. Pero na umiyak ako noon. It's because of the idea na, hindi naman kita ginusto talaga ng una eh. Pero ba't ganun? Parang ikaw pa yung may lakas ng loob para iwan ako. 'Di ba? Kaya it's really important as well na parang pag nang iwan ka, tama ba? Magsiset ka ng schedule. Wait.
Magsiset ka ng schedule. Okay, teka lang. Kailangan mga 4 months muna. Pero actually, alam mo, I get you. But actually, I was also one of those guys din na yung
nag-iwan.
Nag-pursue tapos...
What are the reasons?
I feel like when I look back at it now, I feel like the one of the main reasons is ako like I'm saying right now, I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who's done that. I know girls have done it, guys have done it. I'm not saying you guys should do it. Like never ever like try and practice that mindset na pag na i-pursue mo tapos iwanan mo ulit. But I feel like when it comes, especially for me, when it's your first, like either first love or when it's your first time in a serious relationship, sometimes you underestimate talaga yung ano ba talaga yung gusto mo, yung mga non-negotiables mo. And at least for me at that time, I was so invested in that relationship and whatnot. And along the way, na-realize ko, wait, parang ito ba talaga yung gusto ko? Even though I wanted it at first. And I feel like it's because sometimes it's cliche, but sometimes we pursue the idea, not the person. And when we pursue the idea, we fall in love with it until little by little, we start to see that this idea isn't what I wanted all along. Right? And it hurts. It hurts. Ako talaga, even mismo like, if I could turn back time, my one thing that I would do differently is to understand the difference between pursuing the idea and pursuing the person. Kasi at that time, I pursued the idea.
Ito na eh.
Ang ganda-ganda ng situation namin. We connect naman, okay naman yung hobbies naman, yung interests namin, 'di ba? I was chasing that. I was chasing, going to movies together, wearing cute outfits together, 'di ba? Going on coffee dates. Pero idea lang. I wasn't fixated as much with the person, and that was my mistake. And I feel like if I could do things differently, it would be that. But in a way, I'm thankful for it naman kasi na-realize ko talaga yung emotional responsibility it takes to be in a relationship, which is why single pa rin ako.
Oo nga. Pero how did you say to that girl na parang magsistop ka? What were your exact words that time?
Ooh, I don't remember my exact words, but it was more of the fact na I told her talaga na I can't keep on doing this because it would be unfair for you. And yun nga, and that was the key word, yung unfair talaga. Kasi ako mismo, I know talaga I was unfair to her. Because I could have stopped it like sooner, but I kept it inside because sabi ko, baka what if ano lang talaga to? What if I'm just kumbaga kinakabahan lang, 'di ba, na to end it. But what if I really really do love her that way?
Oh,
parang
mga
ganun. Pero hindi, parang I was really sure about it, and dun ko sinabi na it would be unfair to you if I continue this or if I prolong this talaga. And so that's why I had to end it, and or that's why we sort of ended it. It was one of those things where it was, I would like to think it was mutually agreed upon yung ending namin, but then in a way nga, because yung dahil sa ginawa ko nga, 'di ba? Medyo na pinaasa ko rin siya kasi I think at one point parang sabi ko, let's try it again. Pero after 1 month, I wasn't really sure talaga about it.
So pangalawang beses na yun.
No, but it was in a span of like a year. Tapos parang when we tried it again, parang wala naman talagang cool off. It was more of like we had a discussion, tapos nag-real talk talaga kami, and then sabi ko, sige, let's try it again. And then after 1 month, hindi na talaga. And that was the first experience I learned where I took accountability na, okay, ito yung alam kong hindi ko nagagawin talaga next time. Which was one, not be sure about my feelings. And two, to not pursue the idea, but to pursue the person. Because what happens is, if you let it stretch like what you said nga, diba? Even if may time sked ka sa pag-break ng news na ayaw mo na, if sure ka talaga na ayaw mo, don't think about the sked. Think about just the person and sabihin mo na. Kasi it eventually, you're gonna waste their time You're gonna waste their time in investing their effort into something that you weren't even 100% into. And so yun yung na realize ko about my own mistakes and how I wanted to act moving forward is, if alam ko na hindi talaga, I have to tell it, or I have to make my boundaries clear, because no one deserves to wait for nothing. Diba?
Uy, FYI kahit madami na kami pinag-usapan about relationships and all, both po kami single.
Oo, diba? Kala mo kasal na ako.
Pero ito ngayon, let's try to share to them kung bakit ka nga ba single. Ngayon.
Single by choice. I think I'm single not because na I don't want to be in a relationship. Like I still am open to it. It's just that I think ngayon ang dami kong gustong gawin sa buhay ko, and I also know what it takes to be in a relationship. And sabi ko, I want to commit to that person the same way I commit to myself. But right now, because I'm so committed to myself and so committed to what I want to do, na it would be unfair to go to a relationship when I know for myself I'll probably be lacking in that commitment for now. And so para sa akin, it's more of just taking my time to commit to the things I want to do, like my passion, my hobbies, yung sarili ko, before committing to someone. Because I feel like after everything I've been through, the one thing na ayokong gawin talaga is to unintentionally hurt the person I'm pursuing. Na I wanna know, pag pinursue kita talaga, it's because I see this potential in lasting talaga for a long time. Diba? So that's why I'm single. I mean, hindi naman ako sad boy, hindi naman ako yung tipong ayoko maniwala sa pag-ibig or to love or anything. No, I believe in love. I think love is the greatest thing here. Kasi love is why we're here, guys. Like, it's why we have this podcast. It's why we have we give this advice, kasi nga at the end of the day, yun naman talaga yung sort of the end goal of why we do this, is because we just want to receive, feel, and give love to everyone to everyone, right? And yun nga, and for me, dahil dyan, I want to make sure that the person I end up with receives the right type of love. And so until I can assure myself that I can give that type of love, I'm okay with being single for now. Right? So yun yung dahilan ko. But yun nga, sabi ko nga, diba, it's not in my control, it's in God's control kung kailan ba, right? And if it's there, then, and if I know in my heart na alam ko na yung kaya kong ibigay, ikukunin ko. Diba? I'll take it.
Exactly.
Diba?
That was beautiful Kasi minsan, gusto natin ng instant. Sa generation natin, parang napapagod na tayong maghintay, napapagod na tayong mag-quality check without actually thinking na parang, what if sinunggaban ko tong relationship na to? Will it make me a better person or ganito? So, minsan instant, dahil nandyan na, ibig sabihin, gustuhin na natin. Tapos minsan, dahil napapressure tayo na lahat ng friends natin, may jowa, pumapasok na tayo. Diba? Sabi nga nila, the way you love yourself is the way you teach others love yourself as well.
Exactly.
Diba?
Saka like, just to add to that, it's like, great point about like being pressured by your friends. Kasi para sa akin talaga, when I was in high school, I always believed in this timeline. Okay, pag graduate ko ng college, dapat 21, may trabaho na ako. 26, dapat may jowa na ako. 28, dapat married na ako. Right? And then I realized, like, as we grow older, we realize that there really is no timeline, because you can be happy and married at age 25. You could be single at 30. You could marry in your mid-30s and start a family when you're like 35, 36.
Exactly.
And you'd still be happy in the same path. Diba? And it has nothing to do with age, nothing to do with the pressure of where you are. It's just because, that's where you are right now. And I feel like that's what we should like pursue talaga, is not trying to find happiness in our timeline, but to find happiness regardless of our timeline. Because no one here naman says na dapat pag 28 or 29 ka na, may family ka na. Like, what you dictate your own happiness. And for me, that's when you know talaga na you're ready for a relationship, is when you don't think about, I should get into a relationship. It's when I'm in a relationship, I know what to do already. And yun lang yun. I think that's why for everyone na nag-stress out about not having a relationship or wala pang jowa, guys, huwag kayong mag-stress out kasi ang haba-haba pa ng buhay. Sobrang haba pa ng buhay, 'di ba? Habang buhay mo pa mahanap 'yan. And never ever feel like you need someone to complete you when you yourself are already complete. And I think that's the best advice I can give, especially sa mga in the age of like, instant gratification na kailangan dapat ngayon na dapat nasa atin na yung mga pinapangarap namin. No, just enjoy it. Receive it, and then be grateful for the love that you already have and that you're willing to give out. And I promise you, no matter where you are, it will find you.
Exactly.
You have to just be ready for it. So,
exactly. Eto naman, before we end, thank you for that. That was beautiful. Pero ito, before we end, going back to our topic na being flirty and being friendly, what's your one last advice to our listeners?
About being friendly and being flirty. Okay. So my one piece of advice for being friendly or flirty is just being intentional. Being intentional. If you're gonna be friendly, at least set boundaries. Like if you're gonna go out with friends. Like if
wag na dalawang kayo.
Wag lang dalawa kayo kasi I mean like even though friendly ka talaga and it doesn't matter who you're with, pag dalawa lang kayo, malamang the person probably will think that it's flirty.
True.
So just be intentional. I said this thing na parang to one of my friends, if you're gonna be friendly, have at least one person to go with you. Kahit hindi siya mag third wheel, basta maging barkada lang kayo as a tropa, 'di ba? To be with at least each other.
Susundin ko 'yan.
Oo, para may middleman. So para pag sinabi niya, ay kala ko date yun, hindi yun date, may kasama nga tayo dun eh, 'di ba? So that's my advice, right? Be intentional. Have a proxy friend with you if ever you if ever you find someone na you wanna hang out with and you think na gusto ka niya, right? Para at least, 'di ba, there are boundaries. Again, it's boundaries. You have to know your boundaries. And if you know your boundaries, less heartbreak, less breakdowns, less iyak, diba? And less confrontational for non-confrontational people like us.
Oo, tama,
diba?
tama.
So that's my advice. That's my real talk saglit for you guys.
And of course, maraming salamat, guys. We are almost done. And thank you so much, Dan, for being here. May mga gusto ko bang i-greet or i-plug ng mga socials mo?
Yeah, I guess, guys, just keep on following me on my TikTok and Instagram at @DanYutoko. If you guys like her content, you'll probably like my content also. Mas lang siya. Mas real talk lang. Medyo seryoso, but again, it's all coming from the heart. So hopefully you guys can also follow me at DanYutoko. And yeah, thank you guys so much for having me. I had a great time talaga. Sobrang, ang dami kong natutunan from you and ang dami kong mga natutunan from myself also. Ang dami kong mga reveal sa podcast na hindi ko alam na ma-reveal ko. Kaya sa mga manonood, guys, ito exclusive. Yung mga sinabi ko, guys, I've never revealed it in any podcast about my love life and what I did. Kaya at least meron some exclusive insight about my life.
Tsaka alam mo, ang gandang gumawa ng podcast mo. Tapos ang title mo, Real Talk Lang Saglit.
Yeah, actually, I was really thinking about that
diba?
for a long time na. So yeah, watch out,
Go
guys. I
now.
might think about that. As in, not even you, like even my other content creating friends have said, alam mo Dan, yung slogan mo, sobrang pang podcast talaga siya.
Kaya tinatanong nila ako, sinong guest mo? Si Real Talk Lang Saglit. Ganun sinasabi ko. But today I had so much fun. Thank you so much, Dan. And of course, please don't forget to follow him on all of his social media accounts. And of course, please, wag nyo rin kakalimutan na i-follow kami sa aming social media accounts. That's Fairfax Network Channel, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. And of course, opinions expressed by guests and hosts are solely theirs and do not reflect the opinions and beliefs of the show, channel, or its affiliates. And please don't forget to follow me on all my social media accounts. That's Gandang MORENX. And of course, guys, lalabas na yung ating merch sooner or later. That's Gandang MORENX, hoodie more with MORENX, and being different is okay. Once again, this is Gandang MORENX saying being different is okay. Bye!
Bye, guys!